Welcome, everybody. We're going to call the Police Services Board, OPP Detachment Board regular meeting to order here. It is 5 o'clock on the nose. Members, any disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interest? Seeing none, can I have a motion to approve the agenda for today for open session? Warren and Ian, any commentary, board members? Seeing none, all in favor? Yes, so the agenda passes. We did have an in-camera session tonight. In that in-camera session, there was discussion about remuneration. There was some board bylaws discussed and communication within the board. And those were the items that were covered. So for our public session, before we go any further, I'd like to do the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that the treaty lands and territories of the William Treaty Nations and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We also recognize that Dufferin County is a traditional territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee and is home to many Indigenous peoples today. So I don't think there's any guests that we need to do any welcomes for. Question period. Mona, is anybody on the line for question period? Okay, very good. Thank you. Presentations, we have none. We did the report for the in-camera session. So it is 11.1, and it is the confirmation of all OPP Detachment Board members here. And I just wanted to give a brief story on what had happened. So the province had changed the rules and the legislation. We at the town went through those changes. We now have new board members that are here. We have a new provincial appointee. We have 2 new members that are appointed by town council as well to this board. And the issue was, is we realized we needed a police or a records check that was done. That records check took a little bit of time. No offense to the organization, the OPP did that, but it did take a little bit longer than we had anticipated. And apparently that's a general thing in terms of timelines. And even though we're a detachment board, we had no rights to speed that process up. But we are all confirmed. Council has confirmed us, and we are good to go. So just wanted to share that. I don't think there's any commentary or a need to approve that. Do we need a motion to? We do. Mary Lou, do we need a motion to approve that, or is it just general, just to receive? Okay, a motion to receive that? Yeah, okay. So when you do that, you're going to make that motion? Very good. And a seconder, Warren, you'll do that? Any comments or questions on that kind of debacle as we went through it? No? All in favor? Very good. Okay, and then 11.2, I'm going to give my brief topsy-turvy discussion of this, and then you'll take it over. Maybe sufficient. So we were operating under the assumption that we were, everyone was considered a full-fledged board member. And then when we found out that we didn't have the police check, we realized that we weren't. So we wanted to have a ratification vote of the decisions that were made while we were operating. And so I don't know that we need, I think we did that already. We provided it. Do we need to do that now, Ian?
I think there's been a couple of one step forward, 2 step back. So I think for the sake of certainty,
just to make
what I would like to do is ratify everything post April 1st, which was the effective date of the new legislation.
Okay. Okay. So will you make that motion then that we do that? Okay. And Lisa, probably appropriate that you would be second because you were I'm the chair and you're the only person that was here for the rest of it. So if you could second that, that's great. Any questions or comments from board members as we go through this? No? Okay.
All in favor. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh,
just
my apologies,
sorry,
Grant.
It's sure. Okay. It's my fault for not being here. Not to be too specific, but the wording of it is all post April 1st. While it makes sense, should it be from the time period of April 1st to theoretically yesterday, just to be a little bit more exact? I know I'm being a little picky on dates, but
Ian, it's your motion. Are you okay with
so that? So are you proposing that it should read from April 1st to the present date?
Yeah, just the interpretation of all post first. I mean, that is in perpetuity, just to be more clear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with that. I don't think we can ratify future events, but
I agree, but
I'm happy with that. So we'll just add from April 1st, 2024 to
To
present.
September 23rd.
To present 24th.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
but it doesn't include this meeting that we're doing because we haven't had that. Yes. it's
Yeah,
23rd.
it doesn't include anything we haven't done already.
Okay, so September 23rd.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so you're making the motion, Lisa seconded. All in favor? Yes, okay, so that carries. Thank you, everyone. So we go on to 11.3, which is a update from our inspector, Dee Pasquale. Board members have the report. How did you want to proceed? It's quite a long report. Do you want to share your highlights and then board members have some questions, or what's best for you?
Absolutely. So it is a newer revised report with additional information for two reasons. Back in December 2021, the Auditor General released a report with several recommendations to the OPP to act upon, which included having a more comprehensive report that we could give to our detachment boards in our municipalities. And of course, with the CSPA being enacted in April 2024, it established new requirements for reporting to boards and municipalities. So you'll notice that we still do include our call for service billing summary report. It's an 8-page document subject to any questions that anyone may have. If not, I'll just move on to the actual report.
Board members, any questions or comments? No. When you say questions about the numbers, like
The billing summary report specifically, if there's any questions that anybody might have before I go to the actual.
The billing categories.
Correct.
The only one that caught my sexual. You just use your.
yeah, I've got to turn to my phone.
Sorry. The only one that caught my eye was the trend in sexual assault is higher than we saw in prior years, and whether that's of concern.
Okay, we do see a similar trend in the actual detachment board report in terms of a concern. Is it that there is more this year compared to last year?
It looks like
and
on
looking
average.
at speaking
Yeah.
about why. I would have to get back
Yeah.
to you on the specific reasons or why. That could be due to greater awareness reporting that
Yeah.
we are seeing victims coming forward and being wanting to report these crimes.
Mhm.
So
Okay, and mine that I wanted to call out was the onslaught of mental illness incidents. It looks like it's up significantly. It doesn't surprise me that it would be.
Where are you, Todd? Page is that one on?
It is, sorry, of course, I have just
That's okay.
lost my spot, but I saw 406
Oh, I see it. I see it. We're on 6.
on 6.
Mental Health Act, contact with police, attempted suicide.
Yeah, I guess I was just looking for, did you have any commentary on that? Is there things as a community that we should be doing? Do you think we're on the right track? Are you concerned? Like, what do we?
well, we have a very successful MCERD partnership with Headwaters. And I feel that our continued work with social service agencies to ensure that people who are in crisis are getting the supports that they need is vital. And I also feel the importance of working with our partners to mitigate these risks upstream. Earlier in one's life is truly where we need as a community to focus our attention on as well. So again, we'll cover that. It's actually in the detachment report as well. But if there is any
Sure.
specific questions about the specific categories that you had, I'm more than happy to answer them now.
Any thoughts, board members? No? Okay, on we go.
Oh, perfect. All right. So I want to thank everybody for the opportunity to present Dufferin OPP Detachment's Q2 report to the Orangeville OPP Detachment Board. So we'll start with public complaints in Q2 2024. There were no public complaints within the town of Orangeville. I'm just going to gloss over some things. In 2024, we had an increase of patrol cruiser time. We had an increase of bicycle patrol hours. And later on in the presentation, I'll talk about how we expanded our bike unit, and you would have seen and continue to see greater police visibility. Of course, fair weather riders that we may be at times in the summer. You'll see greater number of police officers on bicycles doing patrols. Again, just to augment what we're already doing on foot, in our vehicles, so that the public does see us out there, and looking at the data analytics to make sure that our officers are at the areas and the times they need to be to have the greatest impact on public safety. You'll also see 17 hours of school patrol as well. So towards the latter part of the school year. With respect to criminal code and provincial statute charges laid, overall, there was a decrease of 21% charges laid in the quarter compared to last year. That generally seemed to be consistent across the county. And looking at more specifically our speeding charges, they were down 51%, but we did see an 86% increase in seatbelt charges this quarter, along with an 89% increase in impaired driving charges, and attribute that to the continued efforts of our officers doing RIDE 24/7, 365. And even as of recent, we see a number of media releases coming out about our continued efforts and how we're catching impaired drivers, not just within the town of Orangeville, but across the entire county. Any questions on that?
A comment, if I could. Your updates that come through, and I know they have to come through the OPP portal and the release, they're excellent. I use them, to inform citizens. I don't feel comfortable sharing. I mean, in the OPP report, if somebody's really interested and it's public, you can go and look. It shows the people's names. I don't like doing that personally, but I do appreciate the examples, and they're flooring because sometimes they're a street over from where you live, or they're on major intersections, and at times where you can think about where you were and this was going on. And I think it's really good that people know that the OPP are out there, and within the four walls of our town, we're feeling protected, and these people are coming off the streets.
Yeah, the officers are working really hard right across the county. And sometimes it does feel like it may hit a little close to home when, it's a couple of streets over from you. But it does just go to demonstrate the fact that our officers can be anywhere at any time, right? And we need the community's help. And specifically with the impaired driving, if you do see a suspected impaired driver, please call 911 and report it. And we'll do our best to intercept that vehicle. And it might be something else. It may not be impaired driving. It may be a tired driver. It may be a driver who has a medical condition. But, either way, we need our community's help.
Yeah, they're great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Something new in the report, e-ticket warnings. So when we stop a motor vehicle, we issue what is called an e-warning. So we actually give the driver a piece of paper. It says warning on it, and we do track that. So for analytics, we're tracking the locations, and it helps us to, again, demonstrate the work that our officers are doing, but also for our own analytics, and if we're identifying trends or problem areas that we as a community can work towards resolving those.
Yeah.
So with respect to our drug offenses, we did see a 30% decrease in charges. So we saw a 33% decrease in possession. So we went from 3 charges last year in the quarter to 2. And from 7 to 5 for trafficking offenses, and a slight decrease overall year to date. And again, that tends to be fairly consistent right across the county. Moving along to the violent crime. So as mentioned earlier at the start, so we did see a 71% increase in sexual offenses in this quarter. So we went from 7 in 2023 to 12. And again, for those specific reasons, I can't say exactly why, other than it could be due to increased reporting and supporting victims with a victim-centric lens that victims may feel wanting to come forward. And other than that, the only other thing that I would say is, again, the 8.8% is somewhere along the numbers of the increases that we've seen, a small increase right across the county. In terms of property crime, we saw a 30% decrease in break and enters, 33% increase in theft over 5,000 occurrences. So we went from 9 in 2023 to 12, and an 11% decrease in theft under 5,000. Again, I can't stress enough the importance of our Cam Safe program. Our community is encouraged to participate in that program. It does provide an opportunity for our investigators to use home-owned, business-owned CCTV so that we can help solve crimes again and bring people to justice. There's an additional report, other crime occurrences as well, you'll see. So our federal statutes, other criminal offenses, provincial offenses, and drive-in offenses. And again, just want to highlight the 71% increase in drive-in offenses in Q2 2024 really does go to demonstrate how strongly our detachment continues to promote traffic safety in the town of Orangeville as well as across the county. So we're very proud of them for the hard work they're doing. And I have to say, in the few times I've been able to go out on the road and hear the officers and see them, I'm quite proud of them. So
Good.
Youth charges by disposition type, again, is something brand new that's come out in these reports. So subject to any questions anybody may have about that before I move on to Mental Health Act occurrences.
If I may,
Sure.
can you shout out where you are, like what page are you on as you're going through your commentary? Just the reports are-
Unfortunately, I'm on page
You
one
can't?
of one for.
One of one, okay.
Is
Okay.
it 18? I don't have an, yeah, so I have a printout, so you're on page 18. All
Okay.
right. So then I'd be going to page 19 for Mental Health Act, so. If I say the wrong number, you'll let me know, please. Wrong page number. We're on 19, right?
Yeah,
The 19 grade. Okay, so we'll talk about Mental Health Act occurrences. So in quarter two, rather, we went from 167 occurrences in 2023 to 214. So there is a jump of occurrences. And again, it goes to demonstrate the importance of our MCERT team and the great relationship we have with Headwaters, but also right across the county and town of Orangeville with our community partners. And the importance, again, of looking at supporting people upstream so that later on down the road in their lives, they don't necessarily need those services as well. We can't do it alone. And again, this isn't a policing issue unless it's public safety related. And we really need to work together as a community to come and support those people in need. You'll notice if you look underneath the chart as well, there's Mental Health Act occurrences by occurrence type. So out of the 214, the vast majority are classified as Mental Health Act occurrences, followed by a tie between family dispute and attempt or threat of suicide. So what that would mean is if we go to a call for service and we determine that it's a family dispute, but there's a Mental Health Act component, we score it accordingly. So similarly, an attempt or threat of suicide. So 15 occurrences out of 214 where there was either a family dispute involved or attempt or threat of suicide. And then, under that, where we assist ambulance with respect to a person in crisis. Another new component of the report includes an overdose occurrence report. So we had no fatal overdoses this year in quarter two. We did have 4 non-fatal opioid overdoses. And again, it underscores the importance of working together with our communities to support people effectively. Clearance rates I found remain generally consistent right across the county, subject to any questions anybody may have. And of course, as officers, when we get further additional information, we'll investigate, looking at ensuring that we're properly completing occurrences as best as we can. And another component of the report is occurrences that are reported as unfounded. So an unfounded occurrence is when an occurrence has been investigated and it's determined that it's taken place. So we did see a 50% reduction in classified unfounded violent occurrences, 50% occurrences is violent, 62% property, and 83 other. So we have seen a decrease in the amount of unfounded occurrences that we've determined. Motor vehicle collisions up slightly, 11%. Our non-fatal injuries are up 12.5%, and our property damage just slightly below there at 11.5%. And I'll get into it more when we talk about the media releases and the opening of a collision reporting center. Thankfully, though, we didn't have any fatal crashes in the town of Orangeville in Q2 2024.
Great.
Subject to any questions. Was that page 23 or 24? The last count. I think it was 23. 23.
It was 32.
32 years. All right. When I look at the motor vehicle collisions, I'll look at them. Now you're confused. So what I do want to impress upon, again, when you look at the primary causes of collisions in Q2, collisions are that completely avoidable, all caused by driver behavior. First one, following too closely, speed too fast for conditions. And what I would say is, again, we're relentless in continuing to focus on our role, education, engagement, enforcement of the big four causal factors. We can't do it alone. We need our community partners to assist with promoting the message of safe driving habits. And also we need our communities, if you see an unsafe driver, to report it immediately.
Yeah.
So for clarity, I'm going to go to the action plan town of Orangeville page. I don't have a page number here with me. Just keep scrolling down.
Would you say, based on this report, that the people who are in Mono are worse drivers than the rest of the people in the county? Is that what we take away from this? Yeah, in your professional opinion. Yeah.
I'm not answering. See that? No. I think we can always do better as a county. That's what I'll say. So we go into the action plan for the town of Orangeville. So by the end of Q2, we had a total of 200 hours of ride in the town of Orangeville. We had 6 traffic initiatives, and I'm, again, very proud of the detachment and the hard work the officers do. Right across Central Region, our detachment typically ranks is a good word, ranks anywhere between first to third right across the region. So again, we really are steadfast to our action plan commitments of road safety, 24/7, 365, but in particular during those long weekend campaigns. Auxiliary unit, again, officers very busy, whether it's doing cruiser patrol, we have bike patrol, community policing, our auxiliary volunteers going out to community events. And of course, our officers are also conducting mandatory training and doing administrative work that they do. Another new part of the
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yep,
Just
go ahead.
Inspector, if I can give you a shout out just for the Rib Fest. Your auxiliary officers were there, saw them interacting with a lot of people, talking, very friendly, very engaged, just really good presence being at some of the community events. So just a little bit as you're talking about the auxiliary team, just a bit of a shout out for you on that.
Excellent. Thank you. I'll make sure that gets passed along.
You know what, if we're breaking to talk about some of these events, I too was at RibFest, saw that, completely agree. Thank you very much, Grant. My question would be about Blues and Jazz, in particular, the picture that I think is in there with the bikes, the officers are at Blues and Jazz. I did hear about some issues overall, and I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that event and how it went for your officers, and did they have feedback on ways to improve?
Nothing that came back to me specifically about Blues and Jazz. If there was something else that we needed to talk about, I'm happy to look into it and get back to you.
As a follow-up, if we could, I'd just be curious, we've got 6-ish months before we need to really start to nail down final plans for next year. But if there was thoughts from your officers, I think it would be beneficial.
Absolutely. I'll get that
specifically feedback. If I could, there was some later evening drunken physical altercations that I had bubble up to me.
Mm.
So if there was anything there from the officers, it'd be good to understand that.
Great, yep, I'll pass it along and
Okay.
get some info for you so we can report back by the next meeting. Another new component of the report are referrals to victim services. So it gives a breakdown of the percentages of victim services that were accepted by a victim at an occurrence. And I actually have regular quarterly ongoing touch point meetings with victim services locally. And so we actually chatted about some of these things, like the percentages of victims that accept. Of course, we as police officers do our best. We provide the services. We do our best to explain the services. But we are going to be committed to perhaps after the fact, perhaps a week or 10 days later, when someone declines, going back and reoffering those services. So if a victim does have a change of heart, then they remember and they don't feel like they've been forgotten. So we're going to be making that change.
That's great.
So Mike, how does that work? There's a charges laid or a victim is identified, and in discussions with police, the victim services agency is recommended, or is there a reach out after the fact?
So that's a good question. So an officer is going to make the recommendation, not the recommendation, but will make an offer to a victim. Will do their best to explain, provide a pamphlet, and then it's up to the individual to accept or not. If they accept, our officers will ensure that there is a notification made to victim services, and then victim services from there will make the contact.
Great.
So interesting looking at the demographic and a little bit more on how perhaps we can, as a community, target some more awareness to people in that demographic to say, maybe there's some barriers to, the way those services are offered, or maybe there's ways that we can look, maybe there's ways that we as a community can look at, say, you fit in this particular demographic. What can we do to make this more accessible to you? So, yes, there was. Yeah, absolutely. Other than that, I'm just looking at the social media pictures. We've got a very engaged media unit with our community response unit. So my many thanks to them for all the work they do behind the scenes. They post great work of our officers in the community. What a fantastic way to demonstrate the great work that our officers are doing and the relationships that they're building as well. And of course, you see a couple of the officers on bikes. You've got our new cadet and a member of our community response unit talking about Project Lifesaver at the Avalon Retirement Center in Orangeville. We participated in McHappy Day. Thank you, Your Worship, for participating in that with us. It was a lot of fun. And a picture of a couple of officers at Jazz Festival. Moving on to I won't spend too much time, but we did talk about the long weekend initiatives that our officers are participating in, the provincial traffic safety campaigns. And again, our officers doing some phenomenal work out there, high visibility, high enforcement, high vehicle stops, and the numbers speak for themselves. I always say it demonstrates how our officers are out there doing a lot of work, but it's also unfortunate that we still saw during the Easter long weekend 178 speeding charges having to be laid and people driving impaired. So
that was, if I could, that was one of my notes I made. I wanted to say, I look for these updates, and I did it after each weekend, and a few times I would put out on social media and say, hey, look, the long weekend is coming up. Please watch what you're doing. It's frustrating. It's great the work you're doing. It's frustrating to look and see. There's two lines in there in particular. One is the drinking and driving, which it's crazy that people are still doing that. And the other one, I think it's just asinine, is seatbelt fines. I can't believe that people
still don't wear seatbelts, perhaps. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so odd. But just as feedback again, each time the weekends are over, I look forward to seeing what the stats are going to be. And it's great that you provide them in this way.
And what we will do, and we continue to do, is we post something at the start of that campaign to
Yeah.
educate the public that we're going to be out there. And then at the end of the campaign, we post something as well, typically a couple of days after that campaign. And we do that to make sure that the statistics that we're getting are the most accurate statistics that we're going to be reporting. So
I think the three big ones is, Victoria, Civic, and Canada Day. Those are the ones where typically things happen that's makes you sad, right?
absolutely. We did launch a collision reporting center. So it is a safe, efficient, and effective way for members of the public to report a crash that takes place in Dufferin County or obviously with outside of the county. And it's also great for our officers because it allows them to be more visible in the community, whether that's proactive patrols, whether it's being able to answer higher priority calls for service. And we are seeing great usage of the CRC from members of the public, and we're getting some great feedback as well. So I just wanted to highlight that too. And it is located centrally in the county at our Primrose site location. And at this time, based on the data, that is the most effective place to put our collision reporting center, including for sheer space.
And where do we go? Like if you do have it, you pull up into that detachment, is it around the back, the side? What do you
It's at
go
the
in the front?
So it's at the front. The collision reporting center is open from 8 to 4 Monday to Friday. We used analytics to determine that that was the peak period, if you will, for crashes. You do have 48 hours to report a crash if you're involved in it. So if you got involved in a crash on a Sunday or Saturday, you can always report it on a Monday. And that doesn't mean that if you get involved in a crash and you call the police, we're not going to come. If you want the police to come, I just want to be clear. We will come. We will investigate.
Okay.
But there are certain criteria where we encourage people to use the collision reporting center. And again, it's about finding efficiencies so our frontline officers are back in the community wherever possible.
That's great.
In May, specifically May 4th, we teamed up with Caledon Detachment. We did a motorcycle safety initiative utilizing our aircraft along Highway 10 in Caledon and Dufferin. And that leads me to talk about Motorcycle Safety Week. And again, Dufferin Detachment led the region with 8 total motorcycle charges during that time in Central Region. Just going through some other media releases, again, trying to impress upon the importance of safe driving, and our media unit's doing an excellent job on social media. They're actually one of the more I guess I wouldn't say engaged is not the right word to say, but they're most active right across the region. So we certainly have a lot to be proud of and the great work they're doing. Again, Canada Road Safety Week, 122 speeding charges, careless driving, impaired driving, distracted driving, seatbelts, stunt racing, all completely avoidable driving behaviors that kill or seriously injure people. So we continue to do our best, being visible, keeping up with high volume traffic stops, and enforcement and engagement. And other than that, that concludes my report. It is a little lengthier than the last ones because of the additional information, but subject to any questions anybody may have.
That's great. Any further commentary, board members? Member McSweeney, you want?
Just that, as usual, you'll pass this report on to council. I think that's the normal protocol.
So thank you. I did do that. I did it today in advance of our meeting. And I sent the entire package and I gave them the reference to the page number so that they could see this report. So thank you for the reminder, though. I appreciate it.
And the other thing I just wanted to, without putting Mike on the spot, I wanted to follow up. I understand that the 2023-2025 Dufferin County Action Plan is received. We've all got it. The progress reports, I think we have, there are annual progress reports that the OPP puts out on the action plan. We have 2021, we have 2022, and I think 2023 progress report was in process the last time we checked in. I'm just wondering if you have any update on that.
There's no update. I will check in with strategy management and get back to you.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. No further comments or questions? No. We have a motion to receive that report. All right, thank you. Lisa, second. Any last comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, Grant. I can't see you.
No, I was trying to second it. I feel left out now because last meeting I got to second everything. Now I don't get to second anything. So
Okay, there's no comedy allowed at a police services board.
Oh,
meeting
sorry.
or detachment board meeting. No, they're from Fraternity. That's right. Okay, my apologies. I've got you back on the screen now. Exactly. Okay, so did we get, Mary Lou, did you get what you needed there? Okay, very good. So 11.4 is the modified muffler update. There's been a lot of conversation about this in the community. I know you've been very supportive and meeting with some of the residents and whatnot. Did you want to talk about this at all, or do you just want to, do we just want to say that there is an event coming that the OPP, I'm being very delicate with my wording, the OPP has an event coming, and
That's
people
right.
should be aware
We'll
that
leave it at that. It's coming up, and I'll share. It's coming very soon, and we are going to be with our partners at the MTO and Orangeville Bylaw. So you will see the media release once those results come in.
That's excellent.
We won't share anymore.
Yep, appreciate that very much. Thank you for that. So that is a report. That's all we're going to do. I don't think there's any sense asking any questions, so I'll just ask that we receive that. Can I have someone make that motion? Jacqueline? Oh, is that where we are? Yeah. Grant. Anybody but Grant. Okay, okay, Grant and Ian, all in favor? Thank you. And then the Safe Drive initiative. So again, this is, I guess, kudos to you and your team. You've laid the most charges in the region, so that's amazing. Congratulations to you and your team. Did you want to comment on this any further than the bragging rights?
Yeah, I guess we'll leave it at the bragging rights, but again, just want to underscore the importance of community partnerships and really getting out the message to our community to please drive safely, do your part. Let's make the big four socially unacceptable, which it is. And if you do see unsafe driving behaviors, contact 911 if it's a life-threatening emergency, or a non-emergency line, the 1-888 number. You can also use our online reporting tool for traffic complaints that aren't urgent. So from your cell phone, not driving, from home, on your iPad or your computer, again, encourage it, because we need that data and the analytics to inform where we're going to be putting our resources.
Okay. Can you remind everyone the big four again for those?
Right. So it's aggressive driving. And so aggressive driving really is everything from speeding to stunt driving to unsafe lane changes, the following too closely. Essentially, what I tell people is movement violations, right? Impaired driving by alcohol, by drug, by a combination, distracted driving. So it's using your cell phone while you're operating a motor vehicle, and occupant restraint systems. So that's your seatbelts, and in particular for our children, making sure they're using their child seats correctly. And under that, I would fall under safety equipment. So, you know, helmets for ATVs and helmets for motorcycles.
Got it. Okay. Any comments or questions, board members? Grant, would you like to speak to that at all? No. Warren, sorry, Gio.
good. Thank you.
You'll move that? Okay. Can we have a seconder? Mayor Post? All in favor? Very good. Okay, so the next one is driver training, and a little bit of background on this is I'm not sure, Mayor Post, what you're receiving. I'm certainly receiving concerns from citizens around town about where our driver training vehicles are, and I guess just the disruption to some neighborhoods. And I'm sure I think it originated when you were deputy mayor, Warren, but there is concern about, you know, what's happening with these businesses and the disruption. The businesses are concerned because they feel they actually have the right and the clearance, and quite candidly, they do, as long as they're meeting the bylaw requirements. So I don't know, Mike, if you wanted to follow up with anything, but I think what you're going to say is this is an Orangeville bylaw issue, and the OPP wouldn't necessarily get involved, I guess.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Would be my summary.
Absolutely. Obviously, our officers are going to be out there and looking to make sure that all of our road users are using the roadway responsibly. But in this particular case, it's something that I feel the bylaw department would be better positioned to handle in their role.
Okay, very
So,
good.
We're there to support, but that's something primarily is their responsibility.
Board members, any comments or questions on that? No? Okay, so moving forward, I guess if people are watching or the media is on, you can contact your council member or you can contact the bylaw department directly and we will help you deal with whatever that issue is. So motion to receive that. Warren, Grant, all in favor? Yes, thank you, everyone. Item 11.7 is the Ghost Cruiser discussion. So we did have a business in town who stepped forward and was interested in having a Ghost Cruiser. And a Ghost Cruiser is a vehicle that is mocked up to look like an OPP car, and it would just park in certain areas and serve as a deterrent for whatever is going on in terms of your driving. I think where we're at is you haven't heard back from, your organization on whether or not that's something that you want to do. I know there's some concerns with that because you'd be dressing up a vehicle that isn't an OPP, and if someone came to the car or whatnot looking for help, there could be an issue. But I don't
that and like we talked about, absolutely that could be a concern. And I have to still look into that. So please leave it with me and I'll get it right back to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
But if we do again find there are areas where our community feels speeding is an issue, then I feel that's the importance of working together as a community. There's a black hat device the town of Orangeville owns. We can obviously deploy it. We can look at days of the week, times of the days. Based on that data, we can look at, whether it's messaging through social media, putting police officers out there at those periods of time to do patrols, or at least engage with the community. So,
yeah. And I know that council members have been requesting that town staff put that black cat device in different locations as we've gotten feedback about concerns about areas. So it is in use, and I haven't.
Is the CC.
No.
Sorry, I'm new here. The black cat is, just to understand.
They're two different devices. So the black cat is actually, it is black and it affixes to a pole
Okay.
on a street where we've had concern. The residents wouldn't know that device is there unless they recognize it. I mean, it's out in full, but what it does is it records the traffic patterns. And it allows us to determine, what are those speeds at what times. And for example, if the speed limit is 40 and people are traveling at 60, it will say on Tuesdays between 11 and 12, we have a higher propensity for speeding, and therefore we would deploy officers on a Tuesday between 11 and 12 in that area. And that way, maybe it's better use of their time and we actually catch the bad guys, right? So what we've been doing is as we get complaints, that is deployed on properties. So 2 streets that it's been to, as an example, it's been on Spencer Avenue, it's been on Cedar, and we've had that data reported to us. Okay, and by to us, I mean to this board. This board gets that information, as does council. Any oh, Grant, I'm sorry. Thank you. I keep getting reminded that you're there. You should come in person.
Really?
My apologies.
Really? Thank you for that. Inspector, just on that question of those, have you seen success or non-success in other communities that have had ghost cars? I mean, I can say from a little bit of experience from what I saw at Base Borden, some of the challenges, but I'm just curious if you've seen either success or not success with that kind of a program.
About the ghost cars?
Yes.
I can't answer that. I don't have any professional experience in using it. And where I live in my community, I've seen ghost cars parked, but I don't know if there's any success. So I'll check corporately and get an answer for the board as to how we'll proceed from there. Just to top up on the Black Cat, because the Black Cat operated by batteries, it can't be deployed in the wintertime because the batteries will die out. So it's a fair weather type of an instrument. It likes the warmer weather.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like most of us.
Yeah, exactly. So Ghost, we didn't pass that, we did? Warren, okay, is the mover. Grant, do you want to be the seconder again? Excellent. Okay, all in favor? Perfect, so that passes. So now we're on to ASE, which is the automated speed enforcement. Instead of me nattering on Mayor Post, did you want to talk to this item or?
Okay.
Sure, okay.
Just to provide a bit of an update, just recently at the Town of Orangeville Council, we did move a motion to ask staff to look into different options that exist for automated speed enforcement. I can report back a little bit that I know that those discussions have already started to happen with some of the providers. I was on one of the calls today. There are a lot of different options for automated speed enforcement and different ways that the municipality can deploy it, but there are provincial regulations that the municipality has to follow in order to become a municipality that utilizes ASE. So within the next couple of months, we anticipate having a report back from our infrastructure services team on recommendations on different ways that we could proceed and how we could deploy it within the town of Orangeville. And I'm happy to answer any questions if there are.
Inspector, what's your thoughts and what's your organization's thoughts on ASE?
Well, we'll support anything that promotes road safety. So, you know, we feel, and I know the OACP's position is, this is great technology, and it's certainly a deterrent for people to slow down and drive responsibly, particularly putting ASEs in community safety zones, and I know there's strict regulations on where you can put that, so I'll kind of leave it at that.
Yeah. Members, anyone want to comment on ASE? No? Okay. Motion to receive that report? Ian? Anyone? Okay, Grant? All in favor? Yes. 11.9 is false alarms. So we do have the July and August false alarms. I guess I can share here, there were 16 false alarms and only one repeat alarm at a business location in June 28th to July 31st, and August 1st, August 31st, there were 15 alarms and only one repeat alarm at a business location. So we had discussed this as a board that it was best just to continue to have this information come to us. It does go to bylaw, it goes to the Police Services Board, it goes to council, just so that we can keep track of who are causing us issues. And the reason for that is it's a cost to, it's a trip essentially for our OPP, and we have to pay based on that. So the idea of getting this down and not having it high was the motivation. Anyone want to comment on this at all? I think it's fairly self-explanatory. Yeah. Can I have a motion to receive that report? Warren, thank you. Jacqueline, can you do it? No? Okay. Mayor Post will second that. Got it. Trying to be as inclusive as possible here. All in favor? Yes. Okay. So that's false alarms. We go on to 11.10, and it's the Inspector General of Policing in Ontario, and Member McSweeney, I think you were the one in charge of this, and if you could speak to the item, that'd be great.
Yeah, so at a recent OAPSB conference, the Inspector General was speaking and indicating that part of his plan for the coming year was to visit various police boards within the province. Quite an undertaking. I mean, there's 165 OBP detachments alone. So anyway, so I, at the board's direction, wrote to him inviting him to come and visit us, and he wrote politely back saying that he couldn't in the foreseeable future, and I responded that it was an open invitation. So I'm happy to follow up. I think we should follow up in 2025. I think it would be great if he would come to one of our meetings and give a little presentation. He's an interesting guy. He's a lawyer. He spent a lot of time. I think he was a member of the Toronto Police Service Board. He's kind of a savvy guy and is, I think, going to be leading the many changes that are happening in his office with respect to complaints process and the procedural aspects of complaints against police services and police boards. So be a good guy to bring in and speak to.
Very good. Okay. Any comments or questions to that, board members? We have someone make a motion to Mayor Post will receive that. I'm going to call you Councillor Maycock. What do you want to be called here? Member Maycock? Yeah. Second, all in favor? Very good. Okay. Thank you, everyone. So the next one, there are two that sort of dovetail together, and that is 1114 and 1115. The general check-in is the first one, and this is, overall, how are we doing in terms of, that is the data. I'm actually confusing two items here. My apologies. So this is the database update, and it's just a general check-in about registries and whatnot. Everyone is 11:11. So I was right. I was on the financials at first. My apologies. It's getting late in the day. It's a long day. So 11:11 is the financials, and yes, 11:11 and 11:12 will dovetail together here. So the financials is the first part, is the year to date, and what I wanted to share with everyone is on balance we're on track, slightly behind from a time perspective. When you look at the buckets on the bottom, meals, office supplies, that sort of thing. The budget was set up in a legacy way. And this was just a reminder from our last meeting. It was just sort of done by the finance team without necessarily a lot of consultation about the buckets. The numbers were certainly vetted in terms of, do you need this money or not? But the buckets are wrong. So what I endeavored to do in between our last two meetings was go ahead and talk about the buckets, and that'll be part of the next segment. But for this one in particular, if you're looking at the overall, I think it's the bottom right is what we want to talk about. And we're sort of halfway through the year with half of the budget and generally on track. But if you ask me a question about the buckets, I'm going to say it's wrong, and it's not properly, the budget wasn't properly set up from a bucket standpoint. Everybody understand what I'm getting at? Okay. Any comments or questions on this?
So am I reading it right that our budget is about 155,000, 50 of which is remaining and 95 of
no.
which is...
So our approved budget is 95,000.
95, okay. And the
Yeah.
budget, and so of that, and 50 is remaining.
That's
Okay,
correct.
Got it. So
Yes.
95 in total, okay.
Yeah. And, as history, when we were on our own prior to OPP, those legal fees lines would be significantly higher than we see now. And we don't really have legal fees because the OPP would deal with that themselves, and the board wouldn't have to do that. However, there is some incidences that occur, and the board needs to have money set aside in those buckets. Fortunately, at this time, we haven't had to use them. Okay. Any, yeah, Ian?
Yeah, so there's a subset that's probably difficult to estimate because once, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, once we have insurance, then that insurance will cover legal fees to some extent. So our legal fee budget line might be insurable and might be less. I don't know. I mean, or
So when you see,
difficult to estimate.
when we get into the next bucket, you'll see that insurance is called out, and it will be in this, still in our police services board budget.
The premiums for insurance, yeah. It's just addressing the legal fees of the board. I mean, some may not be insurable, but like for litigation and things, I think
Yeah.
that's what insurance is for, right?
Yeah, well, if we get into litigation, $2,900, excuse me, it's $5,000 what we have set aside, like that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't get you through. No, it's not going to be anywhere close to what you need. So, yeah, agreed. Okay, any comments or questions on the year to date? No, can we? It is, yeah, yeah. Okay, can we have a motion to receive this? Grant, I can't see you right now. Do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I'm
He says
here.
yes. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't turn my mic off.
Grant will make the motion. Can I have a seconder? Warren, thank you. All in favor? Yes. Okay, so now we move on to part two. Part two, I had to sorry, it's the details, and then part two comes up with, it's the, what finance is suggesting is in blue. So it's the blue column that we need to talk to. And then it's the commentary on the side on the right is what we need to discuss. And this is, just to set it up again, I kind of mentioned prior to meeting, this is a C+ document. And the why it's done as a C+ document is I wanted to make sure that the board had a chance to weigh in and make sure we agreed. And then my task is to go back to finance and say that we agree on the buckets and the rationale for the buckets. And we'll get this set up and have it sent into council for the budget process. The last thing I want to bring to your attention is if you look at the bottom of the blue column, the total budget says 95,492. I don't know what I don't know. So I said to finance, let's go in with a flat budget still. I think that might be a little bit higher than what we need. But the reality is, like, what are we going to be arguing about here on the high side? $12,000 kind of thing. Like, if you're a +10, -10, I don't know, maybe +5, -5 is better. But if we operated +10, -10, that's pretty good, as a percentage on a budget. So I think directionally this makes sense. It would feel odd to go in with more. I don't think we need more, but it would feel strange we're still new in this environment, this new way we're going to business as the board. So it feels strange to offer a decrease. I think we could do that next year if we wanted, but I leave it to each of you. I could go through the buckets and chat to that, or do you want to just go to questions or thoughts? Did I give you guys enough information, or do you want to go through buckets?
I just have one question, if I could. Keeping a flat budget to last year doesn't account for the fact that we have more members this year than we did last year, so our salaries would be higher. Last year we ran with less members on the board.
So if the commentary does capture it, yeah. So finance has that, and Mary Lou's expenses are in there, and the additional board member as well.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I won't do it again.
That's okay. We can hear you.
Yeah.
The folks watching at home.
Ian, with everything that's in flux, do you anticipate any increases to the memberships or subscriptions? Like, do we have any information available yet that could impact budgeting?
I don't think so. I mean, we've always been a member of the OAPSB, and we've always paid our dues. And
Yes.
I think we've certainly for the last couple of years always on the conference side sent at least one delegate to the OAPSB conferences. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it depends. We've got new members who may want to go. Like we've got a spring conference in June. So how many people do we want to spend to that? We should probably spend, some time maybe.
I think we'd almost need to map that out a little bit, and we need to do it tonight, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we're only going to be arguing about $2,500 or something, so it's not a huge amount of money. One area that I did want to speak to, and it's confusing, is the retiree benefits and salary piece. It's odd, like who are we having retiree benefits for, right? That would be a question I would be asking.
Nobody.
The entity that was known as the Orangeville Police Service
Oh.
ceases to exist. We don't have a budget line in the town to put retiree benefits to. There's only a few folks that are covered under this. and I think it's 3 people, to be honest with you. And as they work through their retiree program, they fall off the list. And I think we're like 2 years away and you won't see this line anymore. So it does look like the Police Services Board is spending this, but there is no, we closed the business, so there isn't a line. We could go back, and I think, no, it was part of our discussion. We could go back and say this doesn't fit with the PSB, but I don't know that it's a sword to fall on or whatnot. But if you're talking to folks, we're inflated by $13,000 to $15,000, which is, 13 to 15% of our budget. But that's why that line's there.
Yeah, but we've been a Section 10 board since 2020. We must have information on what our budget experience has been for the last 2 or 3 years.
Is your comment in reference to the retiree?
Well, it's in reference to everything. Well, that particularly sticks out because we don't have any employees other than Mary Lou, and I don't think Mary Lou.
It's not the Police Services Board. It's former police officers and that sort of thing. There's no business, so there's nowhere to charge it to. So it gets charged to us.
Former.
Like a former operating expense.
2020. So these are, I'm sorry, these are legacy.
It's around
legacy
there.
costs.
There's nowhere to put it. So it stays on the police line for now.
All right.
But it will come off as the years progress. This line won't be here in a couple of years.
Okay. But sorry, Mike, then other than the legacy issues, which I'm not fussed about, depends on what we call them, right? But for all the other line items, we must be able to build them up through the experience we've had over the past couple of years. We don't have to guess, I would think.
Well,
are they based on 2023?
So we know what they are based on the one we just went through. And what I was trying to do was, if you look through like meals, at no time has this board ever charged a meal. So there shouldn't be any budget towards a meal line. So I'm suggesting we remove it. Office supplies, we need it. Professional legal fees, as the lawyer on the team, Ian, I would feel really funny taking legal fees off as an entity. We still may need something there. We don't know what it would be. Professional fees, we certainly could change the amount that we have here, but this is police checks and that sort of thing, right?
Todd, just on the police checks, if there are in the future provincial appointees, that was part of the recruitment process, just for your awareness. So if there's no duplication in the future.
Yeah, I'd take them out. I mean, other than
the one-time cost for
other than years where we know we're going to have new members, and we've just done that. I don't think we need to have a reserve for an amount that we are confident that we're not going to spend.
Okay. Warren?
Mr. Chair, I think the important part is the bottom line.
So that's where
if we have to move things depending, as long as we have the bottom line, I think we're good.
I completely agree, and that's how I was trying to present this, and I'm trying to change it by removing the lines and whatnot. If other people want to,
I think simplifying it makes sense. I would want to understand more from a board development perspective, the value of this training or this conference or what have you. Just considering myself and other new members, if you want to budget for that, and if you think it adds value to the support we'll provide, then I think it's something we should think about.
There is conferences. I would say that as a board, we haven't necessarily utilize them as much as we should. It would be great if our new members wanted to participate and wanted to go get educated, and we had the money here, and you could be experts and share your knowledge with the rest of us. It would be amazing if we could utilize it, but that's what that's for. There was a Niagara conference last year that we did participate in. Mary Lou helped me out. What else has come up? But we've had to say no for a lot of us are busy people. We're on this board and we're trying to help, but we can't go to all of these things.
Yeah, there was Niagara, and then there was another one in Collingwood that I went to both. I don't know what the cost of. It could have been more. I didn't stay overnight. I only went for one day.
Yeah.
So,
How about this? Do we agree, do we agree or disagree to keep the budget flat at 95,492? Oh, Grant does? Okay, Grant, you go ahead and then I'll go back to mine.
Sorry, and I mean, your question was probably timely, Todd, so I can kind of defer, but little things, but maybe we're even getting too granular on some of these lines. I mean, like the administration, like I'm looking at future parts of today's budget. I mean, Mary, there's an expense for $130. I mean, we got a $380 budget. In one meeting, we're using 130 of it. So I think there's even opportunities to merge a couple of these together, and make it a bigger bucket, but more things get covered into it. So there's more discretion for the board to be able to use it. But I've also got questions like where are per diems under salaries, mileage? I don't see anything in there for mileage if we're doing any things. I'm not against the number staying the same, but I also think, there's more people, as Mayor Post said. There's probably more expectations of us wanting to get out to learn more things. There's more education. There's a lot of activities also going on just to prepare for the next year. I would hate us to go over budget, or get here in August and say we're out of money and some of the stuff that we want to do. So,
What do you think so if are you saying that the budget shouldn't be flat, I guess is what you're getting at?
I don't know from a financial point. I don't have enough information here to make a comment on it. Like there is salaries. What is there's 5-6 of us times how much of a salaries, how many special events. I mean, on average, I think there's 3 to 4 special remunerations a month. I think there's some basic data that we kind of need to opine on the financials. I would like to be able to go, and we're being good custodians of the money, coming to the town, and asking for the right. I don't want to be going and asking for a large. I think it should be a nominal increase, but it also should be informed as to what we're planning on doing with it. That's the challenge I have. I'm struggling to make a comment on it because I don't think I have enough data. Sorry, I'm also going through financial planning through my other work. So
yeah,
these are the budgeting questions I'm having to do through that exercise. So the same questions that I would want to go through here, not to make it overly complicated. I also don't see insurance. I know that's a separate line, but there could also be some money. I like the idea of leaving a legal fund there because I don't know how the insurance is going to work. Is there a deductible? Is there a requirement that we have to put up the first 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, and then the insurance covers off? I think there's a lot of information there that I would need.
My additional comment as well would be that, as Ian stated, he's been to a couple of conferences, but there's not really showing that it's come off of the lines. Like we still have a full budget for it when we look back at the July update. So I'm wondering if those were already allocated to the workshop and training courses line, and maybe there's an opportunity to merge those lines together. I think that there's some cleaning up that could definitely be done. But my bigger concern is that we do have extra members. We have insurance now that we need to pay for, and those aren't covered off in this budget. So I think doing a flat budget, I think there's a bit of risk to it, and I think a nominal increase to the budget line would be a more conservative way to make sure that we're covering off on those added expenses that we will have. I do also consider the fact that we're not doing the large policy project this year that we did last year. So there might be some savings when it comes to special remunerations because of special projects. So maybe that's enough to cover it off, but I'm not sure either. I don't have enough data to say that conclusively because I don't know what special projects we're going to look at doing in 25.
So if I could, the only all good comments. The number that's there, and again, it's highlighted in blue, and I preface this as a C+ document. The number that's there for salaries, this is the feedback is it would go back to finance and have them revise this, right? So you may, to your point, this may not be flat because of the extra member. So I just want to call that out. But the rest of it, yes, we can look at the insurance I've got. I know that it's being budgeted for. I just don't know that it's going to be in the Police Services Board budget because it might fall under a different line.
And that's good. If it doesn't need to come under our budget, then I'm comfortable with those numbers. If the salaries are going to be adjusted to reflect the additional board member, then I'm comfortable with it.
So outside of that, do you want to play with the buckets any further, or are you happy with what you're seeing?
The only one that I would say is that if conferences are already being merged with workshops and training courses, maybe they have an opportunity to go together, because I think those are all professional development pieces. But outside of that, I'm the bottom line, like Warren said, is the line that matters. But I think a bit more flexibility, to Grant's point, is helpful too, just to make it make sense in how we're allocating funds. It gives a little bit more leeway to allocate them appropriately.
And sorry, question, Mr. Chair. Does the outside of the bottom number, if the bottom number is whatever the bottom number is, does the committee or the board have the authority to change lines and bump up throughout the year? So, I mean, if we don't get it exact now, we can change the line as long as the bottom number doesn't change. Is that still within the authority, or is it a once you've said X for this, it's X? I'm not sure the standard here.
We would overspend or underspend the bucket as long as we didn't overspend bottom right.
Yeah.
We can underspend bottom right, but it would be ideal that we didn't overspend.
Yeah.
And when we throughout the year, when we're charging things, it's a coding issue. We need to make sure that our coding is accurate, so we don't have quite the same discussion next year about the line items.
Just on that too, I don't think there's anything wrong with overspending a bucket. Like, we should reflect it properly. And then I think what you're saying is then we have the history, right? So if we're overspent by $3,000 in a bucket, it's not ideal. I wish we didn't do it, but as long as the bottom right is still, close to 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather overspend by sending a couple of more board members to conferences where they actually, they learn something and we get a value out of it.
Yeah.
Than not.
Okay, I'm going to make those changes. I made notes about insurance. I've got merged conferences with other workshops. The other follow-up is the salaries, just to make sure that finance, again, is not missing the fact that there's an extra body here. And outside of that, I think we're good to go, right? So directionally, I guess what I'm asking for is, can I go back and be good to go with this as we are? And Warren, did you want to speak to?
I just wanted to make one more comment. I mean, I just looking, and I did circulate this. I'm looking at what the legislation says we have to do about the budgeting process, and it's very prescriptive. I mean, it says in 71 that requires the board to prepare estimates in accordance with the regulations made by the minister of the total amount, blah, blah, blah. And then we have these discussions with the municipality. I don't know what those I don't even sure there are regulations at this point. So I'm not proposing that we delay what we're doing for that, but I guess I will undertake to try to explore what those regulations are, if there are any, and I'll.
Is that a zone 5 question? Is that where
No, it's a, I mean, the regulations are either there or they're not. And I don't know how prescriptive they are in terms of, they might be very general.
Yeah.
Do whatever, follow normal budgeting process and come up with a number that you negotiate with the municipality. I mean, we are very fortunate that we're just one board dealing with one municipality. The real problem in the budgeting process is where you've got multiple municipalities and multiple boards within a region.
Agreed.
And then you've got allocation issues. So I will just undertake to look at what that is.
Very good. So we've got the motion made by Warren. Grant, I can't see you, but I imagine you want to second this. That would be great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's excellent. All in favor? Great. And allow the chair to work out final details in terms of bucket with the town. But the overall budget dollar is.
And vice chair will look at section 71 regulations and report.
That's great. Okay, so we're on to item 1116, which is the thematic training.
1113.
Excuse me, why do I want to keep skipping over this area here? My apologies. So reformatting the new board policies.
So I can speak.
Ian, you're going to talk to this, please.
So just quickly, Mary Lou and I have now gone through all of our policies and reformatted them just to make sure they're consistent. And so that's done. Not that they won't change in the future, but I think we're done for now. And we are getting some increasing interest from other municipalities and other boards in accessing those policies. So we've already distributed them to a number of other boards that are starting up wanting to look at our templates. So that I suspect that will continue.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Being none, I have a motion to receive that. Mayor Post, Grant, all in favor? That's great. Okay. So, where are we going to go here? Sorry, it's the old. I've made notes on my copy. I apologize. So we're on to the database update, right? Yes. So this is just a general check-in. You know, any issues? Are all members registered? Any comments? Does anyone want to discuss this at all? No. Everybody's.
I'll just say that my experience was that it wasn't an easy process. The process of registering generally, but I'm happy if we're all.
But you're in. You're good.
I'm in.
Yep. Okay. So if there's nothing to do there, do we even need to receive that, Madam Secretary, or is it just a pass? We haven't done anything, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything to receive.
Okay, great. And then 11:15 is the general update. Ian, did you want to talk to that at all? The OAPSB?
Yeah, I sent a note around about this. I think we'll deal with insurance under a separate item, but board name and logo. There was just a general update. I participated in an OAPSB. I think it was a Zoom call or something at the last minute, and I'm glad I did because there were a number of interesting issues discussed. The board name and logo. So the logo is still, and that is the proposed logo that's going to be universal in application. I think it will involve an OPP logo.
Yeah.
But in order to proceed with the logo, we have to figure out what the naming protocol will be. And I think that when that decision is made, it's going to be issued in the form of an amended OREG 13524, which was the regulation that reduced the number of OPP detachment boards from what they used to be to what they are now. So that regulation will be amended. I don't think it's been amended yet, but I think, and they're tossing around a variety of different names, I think that we may have some flexibility in what our ultimate name is, but I think it will have to have Dufferin or Dufferin County in it. So unlike, I think we now have a logo and we refer to ourselves as the Orangeville OPP Detachment Board, I think it will likely be Dufferin County or
okay.
Dufferin will be in there somewhere. But before we go to the trouble of changing all our stuff, I think we should just wait and see what happens.
Okay.
The remuneration survey we've already talked about. That was the other thing that was discussed. And our board orientation materials, there was some discussion about that, and I offered to share with the OAPSB our orientation materials, and I think they now are somewhere on the OAPSB's site, along with, and I think I've given them our governance materials as well. Haven't checked, but I think they should appear there as well. They want precedents, they want templates, so we've given them ours.
It's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Any comments or questions, board members? No.
Oh, one more thing, because it's nowhere else, is that update also included a reference to the spring conference, which is June. I don't know what the cost will be, but it's June 3rd to the 5th. I'm not even sure where it's going to be. Best Western.
In London?
In London, yes. Ontario.
You can stay at my mom's house.
Yeah. So I think we don't have to decide now, but at some point I think we should look at who wants to go, who we send. And I think that especially for the new board members, it would be a great thing to attend in person. I'm not even sure. I think in the past they have offered some electronic participation to the sessions, but there's nothing like being there in person and actually doing the networking. So I would highly recommend that. So it's, it might be expensive to send 3 people, but worthwhile.
We should talk about that early on. So what's, I don't know if there's a way to warn ourselves in terms of a calendar update. Like we should probably have it on a January, February meeting and determine in that meeting who's going to go, because what's happened to us in the past is it's been a rush and we sort of missed it. And then you're talking about it and it's upon us and people have schedules and whatnot. So yeah, Mayor Post.
It would actually be great to have the board calendar come in at the next meeting to look at what our police services board meeting dates and times are going to be, and also include all of the conferences that we know about during that discussion so that we can go into 2025 knowing who's attending what. And then Mary Lou will have the ability to register us once the registration's open. But if ahead of the next meeting, perhaps Mary Lou can do some research on when each of these conferences are and have them kind of plopped into the board calendar so that we can have that discussion at the next meeting.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All good?
And I don't know if the agendas will be announced at that point, but the cost, I think you can probably estimate the cost based on previous years.
Okay. So a motion to receive that report from Ian. Mayor Post and Grant, thank you. All in favor? Yes. So now we're at 11:16. So excited. This is the training. And again, this is just an update on where we are. I have completed the first training and I believe most of us have done so as well. It's the secondary training. We've had a couple of members that have done it, the keeners that you are, and the rest of us are negligent. The issue is that it is the end of September is what that date said, isn't it?
It is. So yeah, there's a deadline of the earlier
September 30th.
It's the earlier of September 30th,
Okay.
or 6 months after your appointment.
And is there a stipulation in there? Is that a requirement for a board member as well? Like
What?
if you don't do it?
Oh, it's mandatory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what the consequences are, but it's
So I know it says September 30th, but prior to the next meeting, we all need to send in our proof that I know a couple of you have done that, which is great.
Yeah.
Need to send our proof into the secretary and have that looked after.
yeah, and it's terrific. It's human rights, diversity, multiculturalism, multiracial nature of Ontario society, and then rights and culture with respect to First Nations and Métis. Learned a lot.
Great. It's about 5 hours of your time. So,
And just on the deadlines, just to say, I think that for Jacqueline, I think the September, I don't know what her deadline is, but it's beyond September 30th. So there's a bit of time there for you.
okay. Motion to receive that discussion. Warren and Grant again, this is excellent. All in favor? Yes. So 11:17 is insurance. I did send an update to the group when I made sure that I had this ready to go, but essentially we couldn't get a meeting together. So we did, as in Mayor Post, myself and Ian had a meeting with our CAO, Mr. Smith at the town. And, with his counsel, we agreed that the OAPSB option was best for us. And again, I'm just going back to what I sent out to the group, but it was about the insurance perspective to be with a group of smaller boards and having the OAPSB as the main conduit. Risk would be spread out and the OASPB would better understand the issues that we were having to deal with. And the individual option would have more risk and more administrative burden if there was ever a claim. So the decision was made in conjunction with the CAO to go with the OAPSB. Does anybody want to talk about that at all?
Just a couple of qualifiers. The OAPSB option is subject to, I think, a 40% or a 40 board take-up requirement. So that will only be viable. I mean, it makes sense. It's group, right?
Yeah.
That will only be viable if the OAPSB manages to convince 40 boards to come on side. Given the cost differential between what they're offering at about $36 to $3,800 in premiums versus from $5,000 to $15,000, depending on the size of the community, number of properties in the community, and the size of the boards for the individual options. I suspect the OAPSB will do quite well. Interesting, and I don't know what went into this thought process, but I believe, Mike, that Shelburne has decided to go with Intact. So they have decided to go for an individual option and a $5,000 premium. So don't know what led to that. Maybe certainty.
Yeah.
Maybe they just wanted to go ahead and do it. But I think I'm very much in favor of the recommendation that we're making to the board.
Agreed. Okay. Motion to receive that. Warren, Mayor Post.
And just if I could just modify, and we have to communicate. So I'm maybe deputize Mary Lou and I to communicate that recommendation to the OAPSB. There is a couple of questions we have to fill out and information we have to give the OAPSB, but it's easy to do.
Receive and instruct Member McSweeney to operate on our behalf. Get this done.
Yeah.
And Mary Lou as well,
Yep.
excuse me.
Yep.
Okay, and Warren has done that? Yeah, great. And Mayor Post seconded it. All in favor? Perfect.
Can you remind me, Mary Lou, we should probably get that in.
1118 is not of significance. The big, well, it is of significance, but just wanted to inform the board that grant has been sent. The expertise of Mary Lou was significant in getting this off, and we're at the point where we're just waiting to hear back and find out where we are with that grant. Mary Lou, is there anything further that you wanted to add to that, or?
No, that just, I actually played a small role that Sergeant Pancarina really took the reins on this one and did
Wonderful.
an excellent job of preparing this grant. And I kind of acted as the advocate and worked with the town finance department to upload it to the portals.
Oh, so good. Thank you for that. Very good.
I'll make sure that gets passed.
Good. Okay. Any questions, board members? No? Motion to receive that. Okay, look over there. Ian and Warren, thank you. All in favor? Yes. This 1115 is the claims for special remuneration. And again, the reason I feel just want to just give a little bit of a diatribe here. The reason why it's here is, again, we wanted to be as transparent as possible in an open session about any monies that are going out. And so these are the billings. They're listed here with the rationale for why. And basically, we're looking for approval of these items for payment. Warren and Ian, any questions, comments? Nope, seeing none, all in favor? Yes, okay, very good. 1120 is the semi-annual remuneration report. And this just lists any time that we have put through a request for monies from the town. You know, as part of this, that it's documented here, it's documented why and who. And again, same thing, it's transparency, and you know, all of our new members will have their names on here too as special remuneration comes your way.
Yeah, and just for the
speak to that.
Yeah, just for the benefit of our new members, this is all within our special remuneration policy, so it's all required under the policy and governed by the terms of the policy.
I have a motion to receive that report. Warren and Mayor Post, any further comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Yes. Okay, so this is the service standards report for the boards on page 100. In my mind, we met the dates. I was, I think, 24 hours late for our last meeting, so I was a week early for this one. Any comments or questions on this? No? Okay, so can I have a motion to receive that? Mayor Post, Grant, thank you. All in favor? Yes. 1122 is a Zone 5 update, verbal update by yourself, Ian.
Yeah, so Zone 5 hasn't had a meeting in quite a while. I think understandably, post April 1st, a lot of the boards are just struggling with organizing themselves. Particularly the OPP detachment boards that were reorganized under that regulation. So we pushed out the date of the Zone 5 meeting. It's now October 22nd. Once again, I highly recommend, especially for the new members, if you can, it's in Guelph. Guelph has a wonderful new police facility that they're quite proud of. It is quite spectacular. They usually put on a good lunch as well. So I would recommend that for all members to go, but particularly our new members.
And it's the 22nd of October. You new members, do you need any more information on that, or is that something you might consider going to?
I had done a reschedule so that I could go to the earlier meeting. I will check and hopefully be able to attend this one as well.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. And just a reminder, I think it's in an email that was circulated, but it's at the Guelph Police Headquarters, 15 Wyndham Street South in Guelph.
Excellent.
And
it would be great
at
if
9 a.m.
Be great if the Zone 5 update was verbally given by someone else.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to go.
No
I'm
offense.
the vice chair. I have to go.
You have to go, yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you, everyone. Okay, great.
Too. Yeah.
Okay. Motion to receive that report. Warren and Grant, all in favor? Yes, thank you, everyone. This grant is 1123. It's the Action Registrar Work Plan Review, and you are going to provide an update. I think, did you need to push this item, or?
Yeah, I'd message you, and my apologies to the board. I did not get this done in time. I've been under the weather, so I do need to the next meeting, and it will be done in advance.
No problem. And then that would be 1124 as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ian, you were going to prepare a revised work plan, and it wasn't homework for this meeting. It was just something that we had talked about.
I think whatever I do will likely be in conjunction with Grant. So I want to hear from him first.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's Grant's assignment's it's structural as well as content.
Yeah.
And then but I just think when the board comes to review Grant's work, I mean, and maybe we'll do it at a second meeting. Maybe it'll be a January meeting or whatever, or maybe the November meeting. We need to decide on, take what Grant's done and look at the work plan and make sure we're happy with it for 2025.
That's great. And just as a reminder, board members, this is these are two items that we've been doing on an ongoing basis. And candidly, we had 3 new sets of eyes on this thing, and it'd be great if the 3 of you all had some unique thoughts and made it better, right? We're not offended by it in any sort of way. And Grant was kind enough to take the lead on providing revisions for us to talk to and debate. So once he has that, the rest of us can build on your piece. I always say bring a C+ document, right? It doesn't have to be amazing, Grant, but the idea is the general group will bring it to an A+ together. It's not on your shoulders, but if you could get us started, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, I mean the work plan appendix that it's currently Appendix A to our General Service Standards Policy is already a C+ document. So I'm sure Grant will make it into at least an A- document.
Okay, so I don't
B+.
B+. Okay,
Yeah.
well that's good. So I mean, I just want to make sure that members have easy access to those 2 documents, so they know what we're talking about and can look at them. Are they in the materials, or maybe if I can ask Mary Lou for you to circulate policy D3T, which is the General Service Standard, and the work plan is Appendix A to that document. I think it's helpful to have the policy as well, and then the latest action register.
So for 1123 and 1124, there's nothing to do. We're pushing these. So if we could make a note to add these to the next meeting, that would be great. So there's no need for the board to weigh in. So 1125, this is an update to, we had the process with the inspector and the annual plan. It was presented to council at the end of June. This group did not meet, so it's just merely an update to say that document was very well received. We're one of the few boards that I was actually able to follow through and dot the I's and cross the T's on an entirely new process that we're working on with your organization, Inspector. So I don't know, I felt really good about it when it was done. It was a bit clunky for me because I hadn't seen it before, but nonetheless, I think we got a gold star, to be honest with you. I think we did really well. Did anyone want to comment on that?
So my only comment is just in the agenda, just to change, and I know we do this a lot. It's not plan, it's report. So it's the board annual report. Just that gremlin just snuck into the agenda.
I love your attention to detail. I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's no comments or questions, just we'll receive that report. Mayor Post and Warren, thank you. All in favor? Very good. This is the website update, and I'll turn it over to Ian and Mary Lou for a verbal update on the website.
Yeah, so Mary Lou, weigh in, but the website I think is in good shape. If I'm sure that most, if not all of you have looked at it. We have most recently posted the annual report that went into council. What we're currently trying to nail down now is we have our governance materials identified and listed on the website, but we don't have an interactive way for the public to access those materials. Excuse me. So we're working that out with the town. It'll be some sort of PDF. It'll either, be a consolidated PDF document or something else. That what we're struggling with is putting it into a format, recognizing the size of the file and recognizing the difficulty, because over the next 12 months, I suspect we'll be making changes as we polish it and as we learn new things about being an OPP detachment board. And so the problem with having a consolidated PDF document is every time you change one of the documents, you got to go in and rescan everything and redo everything. So Mary Lou is currently working with Tabitha and other members of the town to try to figure out the best approach. And so I'm confident, we've had a couple of meetings, I'm confident that will work out so that we can achieve our public transparency objective.
That's great. One thing that I neglected to touch on when we were talking about the budget buckets was there is, and I think it's in the note side, I just didn't touch base on it, but it's there is an element of causing work and labor to the town, and would we simply have them bill us for some of the work that they do on our website for us, which sounds funny, but that was brought up as something that we may need to do. I don't think it's consequential to even have the discussion about it. If that's what we need to do to work with the town and get that resource, it's most efficient for us to go through that process. We have the budgetary funds. I'll just talk to finance and
from the town.
Yeah,
it's the same. It's the
same entity, but again, it's seems like it was an important thing. So
yeah, I mean, it's a startup deal. It's a startup cost that once it's in place, I'm confident that we may require some assistance from the town occasionally as we improve our website, but most of those startup costs are one time.
Agreed. Okay, so any comments or questions on that from Ian on the website? You happy with the website? You go into it every day, checking it out? Okay. We have a motion.
Melbourne's website is identical. That's what I like.
Yeah. Motion to receive that report from Grant. Thank you. And Warren, thank you. All in favor? Yes. Item 12 is adoption of the minutes from the June 25th meeting. Can I have Mover and seconder to do that. Ian and Grant, any comments or questions on the meeting minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Yes. There is no correspondence. New business. Anyone have new business that they want to bring up? No. Jacqueline, you look like you're ready to rock. Okay. Any, Warren, did you have your hand up? No? Grant, any new business? No. Okay. Seeing none, the date of the next meeting, we're not on until November 19th. And a motion to adjourn. Ian, did you have one last?
Well, there was a couple of things that came in recently, and I didn't get a chance to talk to Mary Lou about them. And we can talk about them unless they're urgent at our next meeting. There was some correspondence between you and the town on our disposal of OPS records, and I mean, that all can be handled offline and then reported to the board in November, I'm assuming.
Yes, the clerk's office has just asked to meet to review the archives. So at this point, that's all that's taking place. And then in their usual fashion, they would report directly to the board on any next steps.
Just on that. So with our new members here. So again, we closed a business, opened a new business. The new business went through some of the files, and the files could have very personal things in them that are related to cases and that sort of thing. The OPP decided what they would take and what they wouldn't. The stuff that they didn't take as it's related to cases was destroyed. There's no need for it. They determined there was no need. But there is board materials, and it would go back to, you'll find yourself in some of those board materials. They are capped and they are our records. And the agreement is with the town that they are the keeper of our records. We have nowhere else to keep them. So they're here. I think they're digitized now, right? Or are they still kept as paper? Go ahead.
There's both.
There's both still. And so it's just an ongoing thing of, do we need these anymore? Which makes perfect sense that we would do it. So we're not destroying anything that's, untowards in any sort of way.
And all of that is covered under bylaw 2 in conjunction with the agreement we have, the archive services agreement that we have with the town. So it's all papered.
Any comments or questions, board members? No? Okay, very good. That's just new business. There isn't a motion required. So we're at adjournment. Warren, you'd like to make that? Lisa would like to make that. All in favor? Yes. Okay, Grant, I hope you're feeling better. Sorry we couldn't see you today.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, you take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.